Pacific shore, to the queen of flowing mountain by the south belt by the shore. Hear the mighty rush of the engines, hear that lonesome hobo squall. We're riding through to Dixie on the
today is November the 6th, 1907, 207. Carter and Kelly has talked us into making this little video. One of my favorite grandsons and his wife. Now I want to tell you just a little short story about my life. I was born in Tishomingo, Oklahoma, 1925. Lived there a couple of years, and when I was just a baby or about 2 years old, my folks loaded me up and themselves in a covered wagon, and we came to El Reno, Oklahoma. In fact, we came to Concho. That's where my uncle and aunt lived. My daddy's sister and her husband, who was Heber Blevins, in 1925. Lived there a couple of years, and when I was just a baby or about 2 years old, my folks loaded me up and themselves in a covered wagon, and we came to El Reno, Oklahoma. In fact, we came to Concho. That's where my uncle and aunt lived. My daddy's sister and her husband, who was Heber Blevins, until I was about 15, 16 years old, something like that, or in that range. And I could drive the car before my dad could, because it had no gear shift in it. I think it was a Model A Ford and had no gear shift in it. And he just had a heck of a time shifting gears without,
grinding them out.
Grinding them out,
yeah.
And of course, I being the oldest, I was always trying to correct the other kids. And my dad was, I always caught the devil from trying to do that. I remember him grabbing his old razor strap up off the wall, and it was one of these about 3-inch wide straps, two straps together. One of them was heavier than the other one that he used to wet his razor on, He slipped it up, had a hamstring deal on the end of it. He hooked over his arm so he wouldn't lose it. He wouldn't miss my butt.
Yeah.
He'd grab it, and he grabbed me by one arm and the razor strap in the other, and whipped me as I went around him and running around him and crying. When I graduated from high school, I was still going to high school, and we moved to a farm over near where Betty's folks lived, and she lived there. And she had a couple of brothers. And when I come home one evening, we was out doing something, cutting wood or doing some crappy something. And I come home, come in the house where she was sitting in the middle, Betty was sitting in the middle, for 15 years old, I believe she was, sitting in the middle of the floor playing jacks with my sisters, oldest sisters. And that's the first time I've seen her or met her or even knew anything about her. Of course, I wasn't too impressed at that time. It didn't make too much difference to me whether I had a girlfriend or not. I never had one, and wasn't looking for one really. But anyhow, that relationship grew, and I continued to go to high school.
And how old do you think you would have been when you met?
Well, I would have been about she was 15, I was about 2 years, I was about 17.
17.
Yeah.
Okay.
About 17. Yeah, about 17. So we got to going together, and we used to go with her dad and mother to Gary. He had a nice pickup, Chevrolet pickup. We'd go to Gary and sit up there in the middle of the street. They had parking in the middle of the street in Gary, big wide streets. And instead of going to the show or doing anything else, we'd sit in the pickup and listen to the Grand Ole Opry. Old Roy Acuff and those guys back in the early days.
Yeah.
We couldn't afford to.
We couldn't afford much of anything else.
So we listened to the radio.
Yeah, listen to the radio. A lot of people did. And then I went to service.
Did you go to the service? I mean, was everybody going in the service back then, or
yeah?
Were they drafting you? You didn't have a choice,
oh, yeah.
Or were you volunteering?
If you didn't enlist, they'd draft you if you was physically fit.
Because you had made mention that you'd talked about when you were in high school that was when 1941
Yeah,
when
yeah.
Japan bombed Pearl Harbor.
That's right.
Did that kind of excite a bunch of you guys to want
Not
to
too
enlist?
much, not too much.
Or did it scare you more than anything?
I really think I was sitting in study hall when it was announced over the loudspeaker at school that Japan had bombed Pearl Harbor. And I don't think it was immediately, I don't think the war was immediately declared at that
Right.
time. But it wasn't for just a few days until the president declared there. World War I, see, was back when my dad was the age of going there, but he just missed it.
He just
I don't know,
missed
he was
it.
a little too young or something. And World War I, see, was in 1918, about 1918,
Right.
about there. And of course, it lasted for a good long while. And of course, this World War II lasted for a good long while too. From the time the Japanese come over there and bombed till 41.
Sure. Till what was it finally over in 45? I think when it all
Yeah, about 45.
came to it.
Yeah.
So you said that you definitely didn't want to be in the Army.
That's right.
You wanted to be in the Navy. Was there a fringe benefit to the Navy at the time, or
Well,
was it
I did heard different ones talk about it. It was
It was a cleaner
clean job,
place to be.
and you could be, you didn't have to get out in foxholes. You didn't have to carry a
less likely to be on the front line type
less
of
likely to be on
situation?
the front lines. Of course, they had a lot of bombers, Japanese bombers, and all other kinds that could go out there and either strafe that ship with bullets, or shoot torpedoes at it, or just drop a bomb on it.
Right.
Of course, you was endanger anything that you did. But actually, I never was in a situation where it was a matter of life and death that I could ever remember, where I was really absolutely scared to death.
Yeah.
It just never happened.
So you were.
But I
pretty
wound up all
fortunate.
over the Pacific, even went to Japan and Okinawa and the Philippines. We was on a transport ship and carried a lot of soldiers, Marines, moved them from one place to another, I remember that old ship we'd get in the rough seas, and when you get in the rough sea, why the water is not like these little ponds around here. It was waves where it's about 10 feet high, and then you down low. That old ship would go down in there and go back up over a wave and sit there and kind of bounce. I was always kind of afraid. It's welded. There's an old welded together ship instead of riveted, and Kaiser's made about in California. Kind of bothered me about that.
You could hear them creaking and popping and
Oh well, yeah.
talking out loud.
They had these big booms up on the deck that they lowered these amphibious boats. See, I was the driver of one of those amphibious boats, and we had an engineer, and we had a flagman up on the front. Had three of us that run the boat. And they dropped those boats over the side, and then these guys would climb down the net like you see them with these squared holes in, where you climb.
Yeah.
So you were dropping the Army boys off at the. Is that where you were?
Drive to the beach and
you were dropping guys off at the beach.
Drive to the beach, and we had a ramp on the front of it. You tripped the lever, and the ramp fell down, and they ran out, and then you tried to get off the beach and get back to the ship. Sometimes it's difficult.
Yeah.
Because there'd be waves coming in,
Right.
water coming over the back of the boat.
Well, I had heard stories that a lot of times it wasn't necessarily the enemy shooting at you that was the biggest danger of that scenario.
Yeah.
In fact, in Normandy, which is not where you were at, but
Yeah.
they said that a lot of those guys didn't live because they got capsized or they were overloaded or there was a lot of other scenarios come into play other than just
Lots
enemies.
of things happen. Yeah.
Now, were you and Grandma? You guys started dating before you went to the Navy?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
How long were you gone? You waited for him all that
About
time?
a year and a half.
Year and a half.
Yeah.
How long had you been together as a couple?
Let's see.
You started dating before you
Probably
went
a couple of
to
years.
44.
Yeah,
Graduated 44.
we
So
probably went together a couple of years before I went in the service.
So did you guys have some kind of solid commitment to each other? I mean,
Well, pretty
did
well.
you vow to her that you were
Yeah.
going to make it back alive and that you were going to marry her? And
No,
Make her a happy woman?
nothing like that.
Nothing like that. Just hope you get back.
I think he sent me an engagement ring while he was gone,
Aww.
and, so
That's
that-
when I sang to her and sent her a little record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another friend of mine and I went up to Compton, I think it was, and we went into a recording place. They had a little studio there, and you could send messages back home.
Mhm.
And I said, I think I want to sing a song from.
Mhm.
Send it to Betty.
That's
And so
good.
I sang, from the great Atlantic Ocean to the wide Pacific shore, from the queen of flowing mountain to the west bell by the door. She's mighty tall and handsome, she's known quite well by all. She's the combination on the Wabash Cannonball. And I went to telling her about, how do you like that? And we still got that record.
I know you still do.
Or somebody still got that record.
yeah,
It's about all I can remember of it.
I remember hearing you sing that when I was a little boy. I actually remember you guys breaking out that little old album and playing
Is
that.
that right?
Yeah,
I think we did, yeah. Right
Yeah.
when you're playing those all kinds of records.
yeah. Now no one has record players anymore.
Yeah.
A short story about my life. I was born in April of 1927 to Henry and Hannah Hoffman Rao at Geary, Oklahoma. I was the only daughter my folks had out of 4 boys, 2 of which passed away at a very young age. And we lived out on a farm between Calumet and Geary in a 3-room house. That's where I grew up. And lived there for several years until my father farmed across the road and had a house on there that was big enough for each one to have a bedroom for ourselves, which was a thrill. And I started school in a 1-room schoolhouse when I was 5 years old, and skipped the 2nd grade, and graduated from the 8th grade when I was 11 years old. And never did go to high school. My dad said,
You're
Mom.
smart, go to work.
yeah, my dad said, you stay at home and your mom can teach you everything you need to know, and I can teach the boys how to farm. And the boys, neither one of the boys farmed.
Yeah.
And
Grandma and her mother was real close.
yeah, we was.
They were just like, they were just like really kind of like 2 sisters, 2 loving sisters. And one of them did, the other one did, and I can remember Betty doing dishes and doing all kinds of things back, after I got to knowing her. And she and her mother was really, really close.
We walked to school every day for 1.5 miles. Very seldom did my dad ever take us to school. I remember one time it was so muddy and the road had kind of washed out, and he had to take us by horseback to get us to school.
Really?
My mother fried chicken every morning for us to take for lunch in a tin bucket, syrup bucket, half a gallon syrup bucket we
With
used
the
for lunch pails.
Push the lid on it.
Yeah.
And baked bread. And that was a great treat.
So what kind of farming did your dad do?
Wheat mostly.
They had sheep.
We had sheep and cattle.
So you and your mom were kind of the underdogs of it was a house full of boys,
Yeah,
and
that's
you
right.
so you had to kind of team up with your mom, and
That's right.
you so that was
I couldn't.
Well, there was only 2 of those boys that lived.
Yeah.
Made it. The 2 boys,
2.
Ted, and their brother's name was Ted, and their older brother's name was Lee. And Lee was in the service he was already in the service when I went. He joined earlier. But Ted and I went about the probably about the same time. He went in the Army and I went in the Navy.
Army. And, I was about 15 when I met your grandpa.
So where were you living at that time? Were you still in Gary?
No, we was living on that farm out between Calumet and Geary.
And we moved
And,
back there.
He and his family moved out there about a quarter of a mile down the road. And that's where we got acquainted.
So you might call that destiny. I mean, if you end
Yeah.
up, if your parents put you within a quarter of a mile of each other, you got a
Yeah.
pretty good chance of running into each other,
That's
Yeah.
right.
especially in the middle of the country.
Yeah, that's true.
Then, when he went off to the service, and I got a little older, I moved to El Reno and lived with a couple of girls that we knew, and worked at a 5 and dime store until my folks moved there, and then I moved back in with them and stayed there until Dareward came home from the service. And
Could I cut in right here?
You sure can.
During the time that I was in the service, why, she was always writing me letters.
oh, don't know that.
And I got letters very, very frequent. And when she'd, I don't know what she did on the inside, but when she'd seal them, she'd put lipstick on and put a big deal on there. And of course, when I got the letter, some of it was probably not on the envelope, but on the inside. And when I got it and got to open it up and look at that, I ate that stuff off. And you know what happened to me? I got the mumps. I was the only guy aboard ship, and I'll swear to that to this day, and Betty knows that. I was the only guy aboard ship that had the mumps.
And he swears.
And
to
she
this
had them,
day-
and she sent them to me.
That is funny.
That is-
Did you eat her lipstick?
She really did.
He
That's the
swears that I sent him the lipstick.
Oh, that is
That
funny.
Because
And
I
nobody
did,
else got them.
I did
No.
have the mumps, and I had them.
Well, was everybody else
Did
getting
you?
letters with kisses on them?
Well, sure, they all did.
That was
Those that had wives or
Girlfriend.
girlfriends.
Now, how long after when he came back before you guys got married?
2
About a
weeks.
week, 2 weeks.
Really?
2 weeks.
Wow.
He
I came back I was this 17 in 1946, and we got married on March the 29th. 2 weeks.
So, yeah, they got married 2 weeks after we did. I didn't know our anniversaries were that close to
So how was getting correspondence? I mean, you guys wrote, or she wrote you.
Oh yeah.
I mean, were they pretty good at getting you
Yeah.
your letters? And
Oh yeah.
did they
Oh,
did
yeah.
they send you your album, or
We
did
got
he bring
mail.
that to you whenever he got home? That
I made
record
it
that he
to her.
made.
See, I was in San Diego, went through boot camp.
So
in
you
San
just
Diego.
mailed it to her here
Yeah,
through
and
the
I
U.S.
mailed it
mail.
to her.
Okay.
School, I couldn't speak English. All I could speak was German,
Really?
because my folks were German, and they talked German to us all the time. And I started in the first grade, 5 years old, and couldn't speak English.
Really? So you were you one of the only ones in your class that
That's right.
was
Yeah.
still that that fresh?
Different nationality.
Yeah.
They
Did
still
you have to
talk
speak
German
German
when
to
Betty
your
and I was going together. Her dad, I'd
Did
be
you
over-
wonder what they were
I'd be
saying
over
about
helping
you?
him do something, and he was muttering a bunch of crap, and and I couldn't understand what it was.
Butter and
You were wondering what he was saying about you,
Wondering
huh?
what he was saying.
Yeah.
But he really thought a lot of me. I
He
don't
really
know
did.
whether he thought a lot more of me than he did his sons, but
He thought
he
as
really
much of
thought
me.
I was all right.
Well, that's good.
That's
Yeah.
great.
So, learning English,
Wasn't too hard.
not too hard.
Did your parents learn English? Were
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
bilingual? Were your
No.
parents, it was always German
Yeah,
parents?
but then finally when I started talking English, and my brothers started talking English, then they started talking back to us.
Yeah.
Wow.
They kind of learned it through you then.
Yeah,
Didn't your dad get citizenship?
yeah,
later
he
on?
wasn't a citizen for a long time
Yeah.
after they came.
He got his
He,
citizenship
he
later.
was born.
Wow.
Of course, my mom was born here in the United States.
So he was German via South America.
His parents was Russian
They came from Russia.
and came to South America, and they lost his brothers too, or something like that.
Yeah.
And he wound up coming into, I guess, to New York, and then he wound up at Canton,
Yeah,
and up in
And
that area
Okeechobee.
where
that's where.
he was reared or raised up. Where Dad was.
Well, that's interesting. I didn't realize. I mean, I always knew that we were German, but I didn't realize
Yeah.
that you actually were a German-speaking youngster.
Oh yeah, she blurt that stuff out.
She
you
probably
know.
still talk to you in German every now and then.
Well, not too much. She about forgot it all. She knows some German stuff.
I didn't
Yeah, she knows some German stuff. But when we was going together, and you know, at different times, well, she'd blurt out something in German that I had no idea what she was saying. What she was talking about.
You could probably get the gist of it just by the way that she was saying it.
Figure out what it was. Tell them about us moving on the farm out there. You go ahead and tell them about that, and kind of that moving on the farm out there. And when we had Tom and when we lived out there.
We got married in 46 and,
That'd be 1946.
Yeah.
1946.
But we didn't
And we lived,
with your folks.
with my folks for a while there in El Reno. And,
I worked for the railroad,
Yeah.
worked for the Railway Express. With
Then-
Uncle Heber pulling those wagons up and down the tracks there and taking mail off trains and stuff like that.
after my folks moved to town, why, they left the house out on the farm. But, it wasn't any good. They tore it down, Dareward, and my dad and my brother built a little 4-room house out on the farm. And, that's where we moved to then after, we moved there before, Tom was
that's-
born, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm sure it was.
and,
When I came back from the Navy, all these boys was coming back, you know, in this area. Of course, in the country, you know, there's families, there's somebody on every quarter of land pretty well. And they all had
They all
kids,
had kids,
boys.
about the same
And we
age
used to
as
go
was.
party with them and play Ring Around the Rosie and all kinds of
And
stuff.
go fishing with them.
And go fishing with them. And we didn't go to football games or didn't go out and prowl around or get into a bunch of trouble, you know. We just
About 9
didn't do
months
that.
after they came home from the service, we all had babies.
There was about five
Like clockwork,
Five.
huh?
Five of those women out there, all neighbors and friends, all the boys came home, and all the women, first thing that happened, they all got pregnant. And that was, Tom was a baby boomer, that's what they call
And that's
them.
really what they are too, isn't
That's
it?
what they are, yeah. Baby boomers. That the population exploded.
So we lived out there on the farm for a couple of years, and Dareward drove back and forth to work.
Yeah, we farmed and had cattle, a few cattle, and
A few pigs and some chickens and,
Grandma and I hauled brick from house that tore down an old building in Gary, and we hauled brick from Gary up there in the back of an old Ford pickup and built us a chicken house. And we come off cement and there was brick and got us some sand, and we built a chicken house. It's pretty good size, and it was brick. And we put a metal roof on top of it, and then we built some nests on the inside for the chickens.
Then
you
we
know.
went to town, bought a big box of little chickens.
Yeah.
Little
And we-
bitty
baby
chickens.
And we babied them things through the winter or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And you were
And
going into
lights.
the chicken
Yeah.
the egg business or
Well,
No, we just needed some chickens.
everybody had chickens.
oh, so you were just growing chickens to
Just growing
some
chickens.
eggs and you'd kill some
Eggs.
chickens and eat some chickens and have some eggs
That's
and
right.
Everybody had chickens.
Yeah.
Betty's folks always had a bunch.
because you didn't have like an ice box probably or a refrigerator, so
We had
An ice box.
a
that
true
we put
ice
in.
box.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Right.
Betty's mom killed chicken every day,
Yeah, we had chicken school every day.
almost every day. They had chicken.
I
And
love
Grew
it.
up
I-
on chicken. She
and
loves
I
it.
still love it.
Well, we just ate Ishans,
I know.
and so I guess you do like it still.
I sure do.
Yeah, she loves chicken. I'm not that crazy about it, but she loves chicken.
But yeah, I guess that kind of takes us back to, I think one thing that I think will be evident on this tape as people watch this down the road, that times were a lot different when you were growing up. I mean, you didn't have the luxuries that are taken for granted today. I mean, you didn't have running water and indoor plumbing and, paved
I wonder
streets.
sometimes how we even did it.
Yeah.
How we made it. I can remember, Carter and Kelly, when we lived in an old house and we had a wood stove, heating stove. And my dad had put enough, we'd go out and cut wood all the time. And he'd put enough wood in that thing thing would sit there and get red hot and it just kind of vibrate. It actually would do that. It gets red hot and you have to stay away from it, But we'd freeze to death in the old house. And I remember when the old houses had rocks around for foundations, just a rock, a couple of rocks over here and a couple of rocks over here, and they built on those rocks. They didn't have solid footings and concrete blocks and stuff like that. And I remember having an old linoleum, this old thin linoleum, you know what linoleum is, laying on the floor, and the wind was blowing and blowing underneath the house, and that linoleum would raise up in the floor and go back down. Everywhere there wasn't a chair or
because it just wasn't no good way of sealing up underneath of it.
No, we didn't have it. We sealed it up with newspapers, but we didn't have any newspapers.
Closed off all our doors and stayed in one room.
Stayed in one room, closed off all the doors, the bedrooms and everything. Go to bed at night, and lots of times Mom would have these irons that you heated, you set on the stove and heated them, Or get a hold of a rock or a brick or something and heat it, warm it up, and put it at her feet when we went to bed to keep her.
I can remember holding my pillow up to the heater and then folding it shut and making a dive.
But
That's
I mean,
right, because it was cold in those bedrooms.
but you didn't know any better. I mean, you didn't know that.
No.
I mean, there wasn't central heat and air conditioning, so it was that was just the way everybody did it. That was just the way everybody did it.
Have you ever heard that song that, did you ever sleep at the foot of the bed?
I think I have.
Did you ever sleep at the foot of the bed when the wind was howling cold? Having an old toenail sticking you in the face and the moon was yeller and gold? And I have.
Yeah.
I have. A bunch of kids is in the bed, and some of them sleep at one end and some of them sleep at the other end, and of course we see entwined like that, see?
That's funny.
And the girls and the boys,
It was everybody. It was you weren't doing it for fun. It was it was for survival.
No.
That's
We had
why
pillows
everybody's
on
in the
both
same
ends
room.
of the bed. We just used the same covers
Body heat.
and the body heat and the warmth, and
Keeping us from freezing to death.
well, no, that big a deal.
Well, we didn't have that much.
Well, when you and Grandma when you guys built your new house together, and you had Tom, did you have plumbing and
No,
stuff at
No.
that time, or what?
No.
And that would have been you had Tom. That was at 1947,
47.
Yeah.
and so still even at that time it was still pretty tough getting by.
you bet, you
That's
bet.
right.
Not very much money.
We had an old well out back that we drew water and we put our milk and stuff in the bucket and hung it down in the well to keep it cold.
Keep it cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then I got a job at El Reno with an uncle of mine that was assistant manager at Long Bell Lumber Company of El Reno. And his name was J.B. Treble. He was my mother's brother. And he hired me to just as a jockey and drive truck and unload lumber and all that kind of stuff. And so in a couple of years, I think, I'm thinking maybe a couple of years I worked down there. But I drove from Calumet, out there where we live, west of Calumet, to El Reno every day, and I made $36 a week.
That's what the three of us lived on.
Yeah.
And what would you say that income was? That
Comparable to what?
comparable to? I mean, would that be like middle class? Were you?
Like $300.
Was that poverty back then?
Well,
Or
we
was
wasn't-
that-
Wasn't exactly
really wasn't
poverty.
poverty. We didn't go hungry, but we didn't have very much. we never went out and spent any money for it. We didn't go to no restaurants or anything like that. We couldn't afford anything like that.
And how?
We
So
didn't
you
have
guys, you all
babysitters.
would have been still in your early 20s.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Then we decided to get off the farm because I had asthma, and I'd go out there and I'd use a hammer mill and grind feed, stuff like that, and I just never choked to death. In fact, I worked one whole summer when I was at home, and in harvest, and my folks never did know how near I come dying through that time because they tried to wear a mask.
That's really probably what you guys did that for. It was for
Well,
honest
it
to
was-
God living income.
It was changed from working at the lumberyard or the newspaper office.
Right.
Sure was.
And we was that, I've used all my retirement up. I used retirement, got my retirement out of Longville to buy that lumberyard down there, and I borrowed some money from Grandpa Rao to buy the inventory at that lumberyard down there. But we was getting at the age where we was thinking about retirement, and we didn't have any retirement. I didn't have any, we was working independent at the lumberyard,
Right.
on the lumberyard, but we didn't have any retirement built up.
Right.
We was paying in some Social Security, but that was very little. You know, back in our earlier years, you didn't pay much Social Security
Right.
because you didn't make much money. So that's what we were thinking about is a retirement. What we was gonna do when we got too old to work and draw Social Security, how we was gonna live on little dab of Social Security when we hadn't paid in hardly anything. So you kind of made a believer out of us. Kind of put enough initiative in
Sure.
your old soul that wants you to get out and do something. If you had any get up about it you at all, you know,
Right.
you need to get out there and do it.
Well, so when were the years, as best you can recall, that you actually owned the lumber company here in Kingfisher? Would you say that was?
From 60, about 63 to 70, up in the 70s.
Yeah.
That's the worst end of the deal.
But yeah, it's.
Oh, yeah.
But
They
I.
all went to school, and we wanted them to go to school, encouraged it. Tom to go to college, and Terry to go to college. And of course, we bought Tom several cars, 2 or 3 different cars. But we bought him a new Chevrolet convertible. You know about that, if he told you about
Yeah.
that. Back in, when was that, 1965 or 6? When was he going to college over at Edmond?
I don't know the dates.
Anyhow, we traded his old car in. He didn't even know we was doing it. And we had a maroon Chevrolet convertible that we had bought him. I don't know whether we still got any pictures of it or not, probably did. But we drove that one evening, had him to meet us down at Joe's. He was going to school at Edmond. Meet us down at Joe and Oscar's, you know, there in Edmond. They lived there. And we drove that car over there with that one evening and drove up there in the parking place, and he was there and came out there. And I just can't remember what kind of a reaction it was when we told him it was his.
We're,
Just had 2 brothers.
yeah, I mean, you were
I never
always
thought
around
anything about it.
us.
I was the youngest, and
Now, how old were you when they bought you a baby doll? Tom and Terry.
I don't remember it. I must have been. I remember having a baby doll with eyes that opened and closed, and my oldest brother poked one of them out with his
Her brother's nice. I'll
mercy,
tell you.
But I wasn't very old. I was probably 4 or 5. And then one time I went up to the table had a bottle of ketchup in my hand and started to sit down in my chair, and he pulled the chair out from under me and I hit the floor with a bang. I sometimes wonder if that didn't help give me the back problem. that I got.
Really? Well, maybe you broke your tailbone probably on it.
You know, you can do things like that, and you
You never know it until later on.
And I
Never realized
also,
until later on.
Also fell one time when I was just a kid. It was pouring down the rain, and we all ran outside to chase the chickens in the hen house. So they're stupid. They'll stand right out there and
Right.
drown. And there was a little rise along the side of the house, and I was chasing chickens and slipped and fell backwards on my back. So I had two pretty good licks through the years that could have caused my backfire. So.
But we've had a good life. Really had a good life. We've been married 61 years, and
Amazing.
we've enjoyed it.
Part
Yes.
of it's been kind of a,
Yeah, you have that, you know.
but that's
60
just,
years.
that's just
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
But we're fortunate to have been married that long and got along as good as we have, and which is, I think, is real good.
Oh, yeah.
And to live as old as we are, 80 and 82 years old, you know. You see people, you see obituaries in the newspaper today. I was reading about 5 or 6 or 7 of them, and pretty well in a line.
In their
I always
50s and
read,
60s.
yeah, 50s and 60s and
Yeah.
early 70s.
Really
People are
strange.
dying, you know, with everything.
Well, just being married 61 years is, that's just that's amazing.
Yeah.
Especially now, I mean, there's not
You
a
know,
lot
I
of
don't
people,
think
you
much
know?
about it. I don't even feel like we've been married 61
Really?
years. I don't.
I don't either.
It really don't even bother me that much.
It's been part of each other's lives for so long.
Well, it almost sounds like you couldn't have done it without each other.
Yeah.
You know, and nowadays it just seems like that's kind of a rare thing.
It really is.
You know, it's
We want to sing a song for you.
Oh, we don't either.
okay.
Yes, we do.
No, we don't.
Where's that deal?
Book went on there.
Huh?
That book?
No, that.
We don't sound very good.
Well, we don't. But we can.
You know, the whole thing about it is,
I want to hear it.
This
you
is one I sang at
This is
Oscar's
part of your
funeral
life.
by myself. At Oscar's funeral. We'll start off here when you're ready.
we're ready when you're ready.
The name of the song is Farther Along. Tempted and tried, we're oft made to wonder why it should be thus all the day long, when there are others living about us, never molested, though in the wrong. Farther along, we'll know all about it. Farther along, we'll understand why. Cheer up, my brother, live in the sunshine. We'll understand it all by and by. When death has come and taken our loved ones, it leaves our home so lonely and drear. Then do we wonder why others prosper, living and working year after year. Farther along, we'll know all about it. Farther along, we'll understand why. Cheer up, my brother, live in the sunshine. We'll understand it all by and by. Faithful till death, said our loving Master. A few more days in labor and wait. Toes of the road will then some nothing. As we, what's wrong with third? As we sweep through the troubled, beautiful gate, farther along we'll.
That's all right.
Farther along, we'll know all about it. Farther along, we'll understand why. Cheer up, my brother, live in the sunshine. We'll understand it all by and by. when we see Jesus coming in.
Just talk
glory.
about, where did you hear this song? I mean,
What inspired
what's the
you?
meaning of the song in your mind?
Well,
It's an old song that
we sang for years out.
back years and years
When we was
ago.
kids, we'd sing it.
Yeah, I used to sing it. I never did know.
Is it a
all the
Bible
words.
hymn? It kind of sounds like it might be a Bible hymn.
It is.
Is it?
It is. Yeah. Yeah, it's written by a preacher, Reverend W.B. Stevens.
Yeah, it's
Yeah. It's written by a
a
preacher.
gospel song.
So have you guys sung in like choirs, or you sing for
Not even with music.
not even with music? So is this your public singing is something that's kind of come along here in just
Since we started
the
church,
the recent past?
Yeah.
a lot of them sing, get up there and sing in front
Yeah.
of the crowd.
So was it?
And I sang over there at Oscar's funeral, you know. Nobody knew I was going to do it, and I wasn't sure that I could, but I got through it. Now that's what I sang. After I put through the little details about him, you know, and
Sure.
how we
Right.
enjoyed his life and all that kind of stuff.
And she's home and she's doing fine.
Is she?
Yeah.
Sure is.
It's got to be
They're
tough
by
because they
themselves.
they were together about as long, weren't they?
No, not quite. I don't remember how long they've been married, but.
Going on 50 or over
50 years,
50.
yeah, yeah, I think they've been married 50 years.
Yeah.
Pretty sure they have.
Any critical information that we're leaving out that somebody may want to know
Well, I had
about?
some stuff written down here about being in the real estate business, buying and remodeling and
This is yours.
renting or selling houses.
That's yours.
Okay, well you want
And Tom being the firstborn.
yeah, because we didn't talk a whole lot about what life was like when you were pregnant with Tom and Terry and Tracy. Was there I guess all those births went smooth.
Those did. I had a miscarriage before Tom was born.
Is that right?
But, and when Tom came along, the doctor told me to be real careful that I didn't lose him too. And, other than that, why,
After that, it was just like no big deal,
no,
huh?
that's right. And the more I had, the bigger they got. It was funny after we moved away from the farm and moved to El Reno, and we lived in an apartment. And Tom had a little tricycle, and it squeaked when he'd ride it. I could always tell where he was at. And one day, Grandpa Ralph came along and decided he didn't want to hear that squeak anymore, so he oiled it. And I couldn't hear it, and one day I went out to look for him, and the little Dickens had ridden that tricycle across the highway, was over on the other side of the street.
Can you believe that?
I said, Dad, don't you ever
Fix
oil
anything.
any more tricycle wheels.
How funny.
So well, let's say
Right. I've got a little stuff right
Okay.
here on the end that I want you to
bring it out.
try to inject
I
someplace.
want to put something
But
too.
just wanted to everybody know, or whoever's in needs to, that we had 3 boys. All have been very successful, and we dearly love them and their spouses, and that kind of stuff. And I guess my advice would be to would be a lot to give and take, a lot of give and take between you and your spouse. And if you have a spouse that or a loved one that keep telling them that you love them, and show it in your everyday life, and keep doing whatever you set out to do, Do it until you are satisfied you have done it in the best of your ability.
Well, I think that's some good sound advice.
Yeah.
And lots of times it's more give than take.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That just goes along with living.
that goes along with life. Don't everybody get along, and we're not supposed to, I don't think.
That's right.
You
But
know, I mean.
you get out of it what you put
knockdowns
into
and
it.
dragouts,
That's right.
you just have
Well, it's
different
different,
opinions.
Yeah.
I was gonna add a little something here.
Okay.
About 5 years ago, I was just dragging around. I was so tired I didn't want to do anything but just sit in a chair and sleep. And went to the doctor, and he kept messing with me for 2 or 3 months, trying to figure out what was wrong with me. And finally decided I needed a pacemaker. So they put a pacemaker in me, and ever since then I've been feeling great.
You've just,
Good. Like a new woman.
That's right, made a new
Good.
woman out of me. Sure
Good.
did.
And when they put that thing in, first put that thing in, the doctor told her that it was kicking in 99%, 90-some% of the time. It was kicking in. They said it at a regular space, you know, say 60 beats a minute.
Yeah.
And if your heart don't do that, why it kicks it in.
it makes it do
Makes
it.
makes it do it, yeah.
And before I got it, my heart was beating about 38 beats to the
Yeah, 38 to 40 and along in there, and you don't have any energy, see? You just lose all
So
your
how often,
That
so
was
is it
fine.
working, what's the percentage of the time that it's working now?
I don't know, but it's doing great.
It's doing
So she has to check.
90-some percent of the time.
They monitor it several times a year.
And about every 2 months, they call me on the phone and check.
She's
it.
got a box that she monitors, and they can take it over the phone.
Put
Oh, yeah?
put some
Yeah,
Put a little
bracelets
deal on there?
yeah.
And they go on
So was that a scary time in your life, or?
Well, kind
Because you hadn't
of,
really been through any kind of major surgeries or anything.
But I had talked to a number of people that had it done, and so I wasn't too concerned. They don't even put you to sleep.
It's an outpatient thing, huh? You just,
Kind of an outpatient.
you go in and you're there for a
That's right.
half a day or better, and you go home.
Yeah.
That's right.
But you remember that was right when we were dating.
Well, I
When
know,
we
I'm
met,
just-
that
I'm
first-
getting-
yeah,
I'm
no,
getting
just
it
saying
for-
when-
Okay, well, I guess the only other thing that I would say that we hit on is, you know, are you both, are you Christians? I mean, have you,
Yeah,
has
we
church
go to
been a
church.
part of your, were you always a part of church, or is that something that's kind of new in your life, or?
Well, we've been going out there to church, about 2 miles south of town, for a couple of years.
Mom was baptized back years ago in a little
A
church.
little country church. Well, I was baptized in Gary in the church, but
But we really never got into church going in a way like we are now, more or less.
Sure.
But we like the family out there at church, the preacher and his family, and we like some people that are going out there, and they got a nice little church, and it's small, and it's pretty intimate out there. You know, you go to a big church, and they don't call on you to pray. Now out there they do. After different songs, they call in different individuals to pray, you know. And you got to be prepared. You got to either just speak it from your heart, whatever you want to say, or you got to be kind of prepared.
Right.
So I wrote me a little note, and when I'm called on, till I get a little more into it, well, I take it out of my pocket, and when I'm called on to pray, why, I use it.
And then you guys go to the Wheatheart quite regularly. That's one thing I don't think that we really talked about was, and I think that's kind of a big part of your lives right now.
Oh, yeah.
That's something that you're doing.
nutrition center, and they bring the food down every day from Enid where they cook it, and comes in
Yeah, we've
big
been
old
doing that for
containers
18
that's
years.
real hot, or iced down if it needs to be ice cream and stuff like that. And for 18 years we've been going.
And is this something for senior citizens or disabled or just?
55 and older.
Okay. And so you've been doing it. You've basically been volunteering for it
18 years.
for quite some time, and so you actually serve food
Every
to.
third week, we serve for a week.
Okay.
We've got certificates, get certificates every year and for volunteer work, outstanding work that we do, and what they call outstanding work. It's just natural for us to do it.
Now, do you eat lunch there every day? Just lunch there, and then you
Out there.
5 days a week.
What they really are trying to do is to get people out, get them a good, nourishing meal once a day.
Yeah.
And this is all done by dietitians. The food that's prepared, and they're the ones that get it ready, and it's right kind of food. Nothing is fried.
Right.
Baked chicken and baked ham, beans, and one time then we had mashed potatoes and gravy, and today we had turkey and all the
Dressing,
trimmings and
whole
stuff.
thing for
But it's real
Thanksgiving.
good.
Good.
And their recommended donation is, I think, about $2 a piece.
Okay.
If you can afford it, if you can't afford it, you don't cost you anything. They just got a donation jar up there. If you want to put $1 or $2 or $3 or $4 in there, or whatever you want to put in there, well,
Okay.
that's good.
You got any questions you want to ask them? Anything?
I mean, I kind of think we're covering it pretty thoroughly.
Any particular?
I mean, I'm sure I'll get
memories
about
that
halfway
stand out?
home and I'll think of something. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can always add on to it.
oh yeah. Yeah.
We had some good times down in Texoma. We started back in, bought us a new boat back in 1982. And Joe and Oscar got us into it, really. And we got started fishing. We never did fish, we always water skied or had boats for years and years, but we never fished. Never even got interested in fishing till we started down there with them. We'd go out with Oscar and we'd catch fish, and see the seagulls are flying, so we decided that might be a good deal.
Yeah.
So we bought us a little old travel trailer and parked it down there, and bought us a new boat, and we went down there fishing just quite often. We got lots of fish.
You did that quite a bit.
We had the kids down there, Tom and Sandy down there with us different times, taking their friends from here down there with us, and we'd go out there and we'd catch a boatload full of fish almost. We'd come home, we had a big old red ice chest about that long and about so wide, and lid on it, about, what is it, 30 quart or something like that. And we'd come home sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes, we'd come home with that thing full of fish fillets.
Already
Not
fillet.
fish, but fish
Already
fillets.
cleaned it.
And that was stripers.
Yeah, stripers
Oh,
and
yeah.
sand bass and
Yeah.
catfish. We caught catfish on a
Judge.
jug lines. You know how they
Yes.
use jug
Yeah.
lines?
Yes.
Put a hook or two on a jug line, and then old
Clorox
bottle
bottle.
or something like that, and tie a string onto it and throw it out there, and line go down and put some bait on it, of course. And then we'd go out there early in the morning and run those things, and then we'd go off and do our fishing out of the boat. And we've gotten into those dadgum fish and just laughing at one another and wished our friends in Kingfisher to see what we're doing, how many fish we're catching. Sometimes you wouldn't believe it,
Wow.
catching those fish. We'd throw out lines out there, and then the fish would grab that line and try to get them in the boats,
That's the
We'd
kind of
have fish
fishing I
flopping
like.
all over the bottom of the boat
Wow.
sometimes.
You didn't have time to put them in.
Didn't have time to even put them in the ice chest, or
It was a lot of fun.
it was a lot of fun.
And then when did you guys stop doing that?
95,
1995.
yeah. Yeah, we decided that the water was chousing mother around, and she always drove the boat off and on, and it was getting to be a hassle, and I was having a little breathing problems even back then, and so we decided that we'd just sell our trailer and sold the boat and quit fishing. We went down there a few times after that and go out and fish with Oscar.
Because Joe and Oscar, they kept their place out there, didn't they, for
Yeah,
quite a
they
while?
Still
Huh?
got a fish down there.
Yeah, they got a place down there, and their son right across the street has got a place down there too.
Still
Nice
down there in
son.
Newberry Creek?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Newberry Creek.
I don't know what Joe will do with her trailer now, whether she'll continue going down there with the kids or not.
She'll give it to them boys.
Probably.
Jeff and them guys will take care of
They'll
that
probably
trailer,
use
fix
it.
it up, and buy it, take her down there with them.
Mhm.
She never did go out fishing anyhow. Joe
Yeah.
never did.
Nah, she stayed home and cooked big meals.
I remember that. I mean, I remember going out there just a handful of times, but I
Yeah.
remember always that she always had something cooking.
Yeah.
I always remember that you always had something cooking too.
Yeah.
When I would go out early in the morning with Grandpa and set the jug lines and come back, and it would be breakfast time.
Yeah, that's right. Joe would always cook a big breakfast. Of course, Betty did too at different times. Fried potatoes, and bacon, and or ham,
Biscuits and
and
gravy.
scrambled eggs or eggs, fried eggs, and big old pan of biscuits, you know, baked biscuits. And something else.
Good old country breakfast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good old country breakfast. We feel like one of those once in a while. Not too often, but once in a while.
It's nice right before you take a nap. Big old
Yeah.
breakfast. Take
Yeah.
a little
Yeah.
mid-morning nap.
We'd come in with a bunch of fish used, and then we'd go up and eat breakfast, and then we'd go back out and clean them. And then we'd fiddle around, and probably by that time it'd be 11 o'clock or something. We didn't eat any lunch. And then after dinner, if it wasn't too hot or the weather wasn't inclement, or you know, where you didn't want to go out, we'd go back out and catch another bunch of fish.
Yeah, because he usually would shut down during the afternoon. wouldn't be out on the lake
Yeah.
when it got hot out.
Yeah.
Everybody's home.
Man, I've been out there.
See, when you were younger, that's when you would have been out skiing.
Right.
We had downriggers on our boat, you know, these things that you let down, and you ever know what a downrigger
I know. I remember seeing you do it.
And I'd be running that downrigger, and Betty would be driving the boat, and we'd go through them fish, and the downriggers would be popping loose, and I was cranking them up, and I had water running down the side of my face, sweating, hot.
Oh, yeah.
And by the time I got them squared away and got the fish in and got them back out, she'd say, well, I'm not seeing them now. And I said, circle around up there and come right back through them. So she would make a circle and come right back through them. She said, I can see them down there now, Dad, get ready. Yeah, and we could see them, you know, we could see the,
Yeah.
On the depth finder and that little fish finder.
Wow.
yeah, we had a depth finder, and you see them fish that's to be down 20 or 30 feet, you know, or whatever. And that's where I set my downriggers.
Wow.
We catch them suckers. Sometimes we'd have 2 fish on 1 hook. It had treble hooks on it, you know. And then the 2 of them would get chasing after it, and then both of them would get hung up on it. A number of times that we caught 2 fish on 1 hook. Not 1 hook, but 1 plug with treble hooks on it. And we drugged them plugs, and they'd run deep, and they had a treble hook on behind, and they had one on each side of them, or something like that, you
On
know.
the stomach of it.
Treble
Yeah.
hooks on each side. That
Yeah.
was 3 hooks,
Mm-hmm.
and them old sandbags or stripers gets chasing that thing.
And you're running what, about 5-10 mile an hour?
Yeah.
Not very fast.
Not
Just
very fast. Yeah,
just kind of a brisk idle.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And they get chasing that thing, and they'd grab it, and of course there's a friction catch. That string went down, you know, and there's on a friction deal down there on that weight that's down there.
Yeah.
And you jerk that off and set the hook. And you just crank them in. Crank them up, slow her down. Sometimes they should have to slow down. There'd be big old fish on there, and be hard to get them in. So she'd take it out of gear and slow down so I can get them cranked in. We were down there one time with Tom and Sandy, and I'll tell you, we caught the damnedest bunch of fish you ever saw. And
To this day, they'll tell
they
that
haven't
they'll
forgotten
say
it either.
no, not at all.
We caught a bunch of fish down there, one of the big old fish. Big old-
Stripers get big.
big
too.
old striper.
Those-
Yeah.
Yeah, this one in here is.
You got like
15,
8.
pounds in the office.
Yeah.
You'll see that.
What's So when did you guys move to this most recent house? And you moved here off of what, 6th
10
Street?
years ago.
10 years ago. And so now you got you a pond in the backyard, which we can't see. right now, but we probably have documents of that pond.
Oh, yeah.
And so you feed those fish still yet?
Just sometimes.
Sometimes, but they're
Not so much anymore.
not
as
so
I did,
much.
but sometimes. There's still fish out there.
You still have a bunch of ducks and stuff that
Ducks
fly
and
in.
geese.
Geese come
Mom
in
looked
for
out,
that.
opened the bedroom window and looked out the other morning, and I think she said there's about 15 or 18 geese out
All
there.
back up here behind the house.
Yeah, right clear up here close to the house.
Do they
Almost
come
knocking
back
on
here
the door.
because they know that you guys
Used to
usually have a
feed
little something out there for them?
We,
About 40 ducks out
We
there.
kinda quit feeding, but they don't know that. They keep coming back and looking for.
They're yeah.
This is the third new house that we built in Kingfisher. Over on 11th Street, 10th Street, and then the one over on
Fifth
5th
Street.
Street, and then this one.
Now, which one's the one I remember? 5th Street,
10th Street probably.
10th Street, the one before this one.
No,
No,
that was
that's on
that was
5th Street.
on
Okay.
5th Street.
Yeah, where we were just talking about. We used to have the pecans or walnuts. What are those nuts?
Pecans with the
Pecans.
black stripes.
But you used to have all those squirrels in your backyard.
Yeah, that was on
Okay.
Fifth Street.
Okay.
I collected old pecans from different women, widow women, and that had them, you know, that had them left over from different times. I'd ask them if they had any pecans, and I used to feed the squirrels and have the squirrels come up on my leg and come up here. I'd have one pecan there, and they'd come up there and get that pecan. We had one old squirrel in the backyard that had babies. And I think there's about 5 of them, weren't they? Something
Yeah,
like that.
up in a knothole in the
There's a
tree.
big old knothole up in that old elm tree. And all those little ones had come out there and run around up there.
Hmm.
So I got me a stick. I'd had these pecans, little old pecans, and I got me a stick and fixed me a clamp on the end of it so I could put a pecan in it. And I hold it up there in the tree. I had it long enough that I could hold it up there on the limb. And them little squirrels would come down there. This is the honest to God's truth. Come down there and hang by their back legs and hang down there and take that squirrel off of that deal with their,
Take that
pecan off that deal with their feet and their mouth.
Oh my God! How
Hanging by their-
cute.
Hanging by their hind leg, feet.
Oh my gosh! The little baby ones.
Little
How
bitty
cute!
ones.
Yeah. The old mother would too.
We had a lot of fun down there with squirrels and
Yeah.
birds.
Yeah.
Blue jays.
Blue jays.
Oh.
And that's back where that alley back behind that house, and probably around town, different places was where we used to get the old. They used to have the old brick streets,
Yeah.
which they may still have some that are exposed, but
Yeah.
that old alley was an old brick paved street, and I guess did you guys?
Take all the break up.
I guess that was all right to do. I
Yeah,
mean, we did it.
sidewalks,
Yeah.
Yeah, all around the town.
Yeah.
We got about 3,000 of them here, and we gave Tom.
Well, I think
Everybody
we've got. I think everybody's got some at their
Everybody got
house
their
or
break, yeah.
at one of their old houses
I've given
somewhere.
them to other people.
Mm-hmm.
You've heard the story about
About the strawberry patch.
about the strawberry patch down there on at that house on 5th Street.
Where the
We had a
bathtub.
6-foot we had a 6-foot fence around it. One day, Grandma and I was sitting out there in the backyard, and just visiting or talking or drinking something, I don't know what. We were sitting there in chairs right there in the backyard, and it was 4 dark, maybe in the middle afternoon for all I know. And I heard some kids coming down the alley back there and talking and visiting and whatever was going on, and they stayed right back there in the behind our fence. I wondered what the devil's them kids doing back there. I just wondered. And so I sneaked out to the garage. We had a double car garage out in the backyard. We had a double car garage on the house and one out in the backyard. So I sneaked out there and got over there closer, and I could still hear them talking there along the back of the fence. So we had strawberries all along the back fence there. This old board fence, you know, we didn't have any concrete under it. And so I had a gate there, and I got on my hands and knees, and I crawled along them strawberries over there to where they was talking. And one of them was saying to the other about, can you get it or something like that, you know. And I got on a little further and looked over there under that fence. And it was real quiet. And there was a little arm stuck under that fence. stuck under that fence, and he was feeling around in there for them strawberries, trying to get feeling. I guess there was some strawberries that had grown through the fence, you know, underneath it.
Enough to where they could figure out that there was a bunch more.
Yeah. And his arm was working around in there. They were still talking. They couldn't see me, see, and I crawled up there real close. And he's had his arm in there, and I reached over and grabbed it like that.
Oh, God.
Did it?
And he let out a yell, and he said, "The old man's got me. The old man's got me." and he was trying to get loose. Of course, I didn't want to hurt him, so I turned him loose. And he jerked his arm back out that fence, and them kids took off down that alley, and I've never seen them. I never seen them after that.
The old man.
That is hilarious.
So I went around the door, opened the gate, went around and opened the gate. Mom was just hollering laughing. I went around and opened the gate and walked down there, and they had a paring knife down there that they had dug under that fence with, and it was still laying there. That kid.
He was so scared.
He hollered, "The old man's got me," and them other kids wasn't saying a word, they just blunted.
Oh, that's
Well, I'm
funny.
off and left.
That is-
From the great Atlantic Ocean to the wide Pacific shore, to the Queen of Flowing Mountain by the south belt by the shore. Hear the mighty rush of the engine, hear that lonesome hobo's fall. We're riding through to Dixie on the Wabash Cannonball. Our eastern states are dandy, so the people always say. From New York to St. Louis and Chicago by the way. From the hills of Minnesota where the rippling waters fall, no changes can be taken on the Wabash Cannonball. Well, listen to the jingle, the rumble and the roar, as she glides along the woodland by the hills and by the shore. Hear the mighty rush of the engine, hear that lonesome hobo's call. We're traveling through the jungle on the Wabash Cannonball. You could hear all the people say, "There's a gal out there from Texas. She's long and she's tall. She's the combination of the Wabash Cannonball." Will you listen to the jingle, the rumble and the roar, as she glides along the woodland by the hills and by the shore. Hear the mighty rush of the engine, hear that lonesome hobo's call. We're traveling through to Dixie on the Wabash Cannonball. Well, here's to Daddy Claxton, may his name forever stand and always be remembered throughout this great land. His earthly race is over and we'll bear him to a draw, and we'll carry him up to heaven on the Wabash Cannonball. Well, listen to the jingle, the rumble and the roar, as she glides along the woodland by the hills and by the shore. Hear the mighty rush of the engine, hear that lonesome hobo's call. We're traveling through to Dixie on the Wabash Cannonball.